All right. Get back over here in our Zoom box. So welcome back, everybody. I have learned by now that you can see me, even though I can't see you just yet. But we're live for Makers Create Live, and we are here with Renee Smith, who was with us on the podcast just a couple of weeks ago. So how's it going?
Good.
Good.
Ready for some fun.
I know. I'm excited. This is going to be a lot of fun. Last week I kind of was creating off camera while I talked to Michelle because I was doing jewelry, and tonight I'm going to do my camera down so that I can talk to you and look at what you're doing and what I'm doing, and hopefully not make as many weird faces at the camera if we're being honest. But what are you planning on working on tonight?
I'm just going to do some florals. I'm thinking I might do a little more. I don't know. We'll see. I mean, florals definitely, but yeah, color wise, we'll see what happens.
Awesome. I love it. I love it. So when you're getting ready to start something like this, what's the first thing that you do? Like I see you've already got some stuff on there. Like what was the thought process behind that? Or was there one?
Not really. I just try to put a background on. I grab some colors that I feel like in the moment and just kind of brush them on with I usually get like either Paint Pixie's the turquoise iris shortstop or the Dusty or something, and I get a bunch of paints with some water and just move them all over the place, and usually that kind of gives me an idea of where to go. I have to remind myself, I don't know if you've heard Dion say it, don't fall in love with it at this stage. Sometimes I just fall in love with it at this stage, and then I'm like, what if I mess it up? And so I sit on it for weeks. But I'm not going to sit on it tonight. We're going to do something.
Cool. Awesome. So normally when I'm doing this, it kind of has us both on there at the same time. And right now that.
Uh-oh.
And that's okay. So whoever's talking is the one who's going to be seen. So I'm going to go ahead and face my camera down. Let's just both go ahead and get started. I'm going to work on some felted peaches tonight. I made these for a display that we are going to be having at our store in a couple of months. And I've only made 2 so far. And I've got about, 3 dozen more to go. So that's what I'm working on.
So I have a question about that. I'm looking at what you got. So you're taking your yarn, are you combing it out to make that felt, or what do you do to get that texture?
This is roving. This is actually wool roving. It's not technically yarn. I buy it like this. So this is a braid of roving.
Okay.
And I unhook each loop as I want to get to it. And then I break it off in pieces. And then I stretch it out not stretch it out. You can separate it like this. That's just a rubber protector so that I don't stab myself again. And you do it out like this, and then you can actually pull it apart. It's called drafting. It's just what you do when you're spinning. This is the same stuff that I would use when I'm spinning yarn too. But to do this, you pull the pieces, you pull it apart, and then you can continue to just sort of break it into smaller pieces.
Uh-huh.
And then you can layer it like across each other to cross hatch it. And then you use this tool, which has got a bunch of needles in it, to felt it to the piece. It's not yarn, it's big, thick wool roving. This is a felted wool yarn that I will use to make my little stems. But
that is cool.
It's fun. It really is fun. It's a very neat process. It's not something I had watched people do it before, but I didn't complete, it's one of those things you watch people do something, you don't necessarily completely understand it. And that was me up until a couple of weeks ago. And then I got this idea for this display at work, and I was like, I need peaches. And I was trying to figure out, decorative peaches. What would that be? What would you make that out of? And then I came across some felted fruit, and I thought, well, that's a really good idea.
So what else can you use that for? What else? I mean, besides that kind of thing, is there something else that
you can spin yarn with this? So Jerry, Jerry with Ellie's daughter, she used to, which I mean, she's still a spinner, but she used to have a whole business around spinning, and she had her own sheep that she harvested the fleece and everything. So she has loaned me a spinning wheel so that I can teach myself some things and make sure that I'm going to enjoy it before I go spend a lot of money on my own. But you draft it out, and then this is what you use to spin. That's what most people are going to use this for. And then they'll spin a yarn that looks like, since this is hand dyed. I got this from a fiber artist on Etsy that hand dyes their own wool. So you start spinning this on a wheel, and it's going to give you a wool that looks kind of like that. That's got some really interesting shading and texture in there.
That's pretty.
So we'll see. I overestimated the amount of wool I needed. It actually doesn't take nearly as much as I expected for these peaches. So I'll be interested to see. I bought 3 of these big braids. So I'm expecting to have a fair amount left when I'm done. So I probably will end up spinning the rest of it into a yarn, because I'm just having a fit over all things fiber art these days.
You've been doing some pretty interesting designs, and I love them.
Well, those
round ones you've been doing are so pretty.
Thank you. It's been a lot of fun. So tell us about your new stuff that's coming out.
The Father's Day cards.
Mm-hmm.
So those all have fisherman scenes on them. Kind of a tribute to my dad.
Yeah.
Most of my scenes, if I paint a landscape scene and it's got water in it, it's going to have a fisherman in it. So I just thought we needed something. We're always doing Mother's Day stuff, and I figured this time we needed something for Father's Day.
Yeah.
So I've got 4 designs coming out. I think one has a mountain. 3 of them are like sunsets. 2 sunsets and one's a sunrise. One of them is the first card or first design that I've ever done. Right after my dad passed, I did the solitary. I think my daughter named it Fisherman's Solitude is the name of the card. Oh. And it just has the lone fisherman out on the water at sunset. And then I did a second one of that same type of scene with 3 friends in a boat. One of them is falling out, and it's based on a true story of a fishing trip that my dad and 2 of his friends took when I was a kid. So yeah, that's what they're based on, but they're coming out. They're available on my website now.
Awesome.
Hopefully they'll be available in a few stores here before long.
Yes, perhaps it may be that very soon you will find those in the upstate of South Carolina as well. Oh, yeah, I was checking my stock today on the cards that I already had to see what I needed to reorder, since I was going to be getting those. And I made my list of the ones that I have sold so far. So I was going to, I was glad when you told me earlier you were going to send me a new order form, because I was like, I can't remember which packages these are.
I don't know if you have all of them in what I sent you the first time. So you probably needed an updated one.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. I will admit this felting stuff is a little cathartic, because you're basically doing a lot of stabbing. So if you've got any aggression, you need to get out.
That's funny.
So is that green going to be your vase?
Yes. I love green. I got to put green in everything.
Yeah. I would never say that green's like my favorite color or anything, but I'm kind of like that. I feel like it belongs in everything.
My mom hated green.
Really?
Yeah, she hated green. And I'm just like, Mom, I need green in everything. She wanted blue. Everything had to be blue.
See that?
That's why we painted her kitchen cabinets blue. Her walls were a shade of blue. I managed to get her not to do country blue on everything, but she loved blue.
Did she do a lot of water scenes when she painted?
She did a few with me. Mom tried everything when she painted.
Yeah.
She was just so excited to finally realize that she could do it that she did all kinds of stuff. She mostly it was florals. And she got into a class where they did a lot of aspen trees and birch trees and that kind of thing, and a lot of texture.
Yeah.
And my mom, it was so funny because she would do something with texture and it would be like, holy moly, Mom, that canvas weighs like 500 pounds. I don't think they meant put all of it on the same canvas, but man, they would turn out so pretty. I have her first one that she did. She started doing that right after Dad passed. And about the same time she started doing Dion's finger painting class.
Mm-hmm.
And I have the very first one that she painted hanging above me here in the art studio. And on one of the trees, she had carved a heart and put Dad's initials in it. And so she was like, I messed it up. I did all the shading wrong. And I was like, no, you didn't. It's mine. You're not painting over it.
I love that. That's so cool.
I've got a lot of her stuff here. A lot of it is florals or the birch trees. She did some church scenes. She did a barn. So she loved just trying anything.
So I know you paint a lot of florals and a lot of landscapes, but is there one or the other or anything else that you just is like your favorite subject?
No, it just depends on my mood.
Yeah.
I mean, I love florals. I've always loved florals. So, painting them has always been something I feel like I'm still learning a lot about how to paint them. But probably landscapes are probably my favorites. I just tried to paint something. I did one of these backgrounds and I fell in love with it. And it's big. Yeah. And I thought, okay, if I'm not supposed to fall in love with it, what can I do to really draw that background and make it have a purpose? And so let me see. I don't know if I can show you because it's so big. But I kind of did like a watered, and the light may be bad, but I kind of worked in and worked with it and made it very wispy. So I don't know. I like doing things like that. I'm trying to learn to be more subtle. I tend to really pack on the colors.
Yeah. I'm very heavy-handed. So like, I mean, that's gorgeous, that piece that you're talking about, but like, I don't know. I'm very heavy-handed too. And I'm very much, if I'm painting something, I want a lot of texture in it. And I'm having paint camp this week at the store. So we're going over different paint lines every day and different textures and things. And today we were working with the DIY paints and doing a lot of the thicker, heavier textures.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's my favorite. That's always going to be my favorite because I just like to do, you know what I mean? Like, I like the heavy texture. I like the really thick raised areas of paint and if it doesn't have like at least a half a dozen layers, then I don't feel like I'm done.
Yeah. Mine is I'll start doing flowers and I'll think, okay, I need to keep this full. So I'm going to do like a few flowers here and I'm going to leave it kind of sparse. And before I'm done, I have so many flowers on it that I'm like, wow, where did the canvas go? No negative space at all. What am I thinking? But I mean, that's just what I tend to do. I used to tease my dad because he was always one of those that, you know, if a little was good, then a whole lot was so much better.
Yep.
To tease him about it, you know, Dad, you could have got away with just very little of that. You didn't need to go all out. But I find I tend to do that on canvases.
Yep. Yep, that's me too. All in. I want all of it.
I want all of the colors.
Yes,
like
and I do that like when I find a new anything really, that it's just like, I don't know. I want it all.
Yeah, my hair should give it away. I'm like, I want all the colors.
How often do you have to get your hair colored to keep it up like that?
I get it done about every 6 to 8 weeks.
That's not bad.
No, and it's funny because I go in and I just basically just sit down and say, okay, do your thing. I don't pick the colors. I don't usually pay much attention to what they're doing. That's my moment to just sit there for 3.5 hours and I don't have to think. I don't have to make a decision.
Yeah.
And when it's all done, the colors are all there and that's my relaxing time.
I bet. I used to be like that when I don't get my hair colored anymore. So hair appointments are not long for me anymore. But I do miss that because I was the same way. That was my time to turn off. You know, my phone was off. Everyone knew where I was and I just didn't, you know.
Yeah.
It was nice.
It's hard to have a phone conversation when your hair is covered with color and foils.
And when you're up under the fan, you know, or if your head's in the sink. So it's like, you know, you're just unreachable for an hour or so. And it's kind of nice.
It's very nice. Especially when you go, you know, 24/7, you're always going, never stopping. I mean, even at night, you know, your brain is like making all of these decisions and thinking through everything that you needed to do or
I swear every big idea I have comes at night when I'm supposedly not working.
Yes.
Or when I'm just having conversation and it's like all of a sudden something occurs to me and it's like, oh, I could do this. It's like, stop.
Well, I can tell that like sounds soothing.
It is. I mean, this could definitely, was it ASMR with the sounds? 100%. I could just make videos with the sounds and be like,
I bet you could.
All day long.
People buying them nonstop just to be soothing.
This particular braid, when I found it, it was just perfect because it's just all the colors, all the natural colors that are in a real peach. And they're all in the same thing. And like, I don't even have to plan it. I can just pull it off and work in that direction. And I love it.
I had a great uncle on my mom's side who had a big peach orchard down in South Arkansas. Or not. No, he was in Louisiana. Just in Louisiana is where it was.
Okay.
I went to it like a couple of times as a kid. We weren't there a lot, but I can remember going and getting peaches off his trees and eating them, and the juice just running down your arms because they were so big.
So good. Like I said, the little town that I grew up in, Inman, which is just, I mean, I'm in Duncan now. It's, this is just one of those areas. It's just a string of little towns. So my store is actually in Spartanburg proper, I guess you'd say, but everywhere I've ever lived has been in the county. And Inman, which was, like I said, the little small town where I grew up, was the place with all the peaches, and had that record breaking day and all the things. So a friend of mine, when I was growing up, her parents, her dad and his family owned a peach packing, a peach business. And I remember a couple of summers because they had the packing plant where, of course, they packed them all up, to go out to different grocery stores and different places all over. But then, there was also the roadside stand, where you could just go get your peaches. So I worked there a couple of summers. And I tell you, it's so funny. Like, it's a very different experience when you are around truly fresh peaches like that. You know what I mean? It's different smells. It's a different kind of thing. And I remember there was probably a point where it would have been like, oh, if I don't ever smell another peach again, that'll be okay. Just because it can be overwhelming. But now that I'm older, it's like, I kind of miss it. And if I drive, past a plant, like a packing plant or something, and you get that smell, it's very nostalgic.
Yeah.
So I'm not being quite as aggressive as I usually am, because I feel like it might become a little annoying. But this is a tool that I bought at the craft store. So the whole general idea with the needle felting, you poke over and over again. And so the first few times I did anything, I made it with just the single needle. But when you're covering so much area, and especially if you want to move quickly, it's better to have one of these, because it's got I think this one has 1, 2, 7. Yeah, 7 needles. So you can get 7 stabs at one time. And it's just easier to control. But it is, it does make a noise. It's kind of like the person that keeps popping their pen.
So you have to be careful not to get too quiet when you're working.
Oh my gosh, I do.
I get so caught up in it in a live, and I'm like, oh no, I'm boring everybody.
Yeah.
I'm just focused.
I'm the same way. That's pretty.
Thought I'd do something a little different. So now I think I'm going with a little bold. So how long does it take you to do one of those?
When I'm not talking and I'm just straight up doing this, I timed myself this morning because I was trying to figure out pricing. And it takes about a half an hour.
It's not bad.
It's not. It's really not. And this is the kind of thing that I enjoy doing. Like, I always have to have, I don't know about you, but I always have to have a project in my hands. I have to keep my hands busy. I'm just not capable of. And people will fuss, you never relax. And I'm like, well, that's not entirely true. I just don't relax the way you do.
Right.
This is very relaxing for me.
Uh-oh. Sorry. Kitchen noise.
My dog just randomly goes crazy every now and then. So we tease. Do you have dogs in your house?
No.
No. Well, we tease because our girl, about this time of night, we call it the witching hour, because she is ready to go outside and play fetch or go for a walk or go out so that she can run the length of the yard. It's crazy. But she is a very social animal. She is under our feet all the time. She is a pit lab mix. So she's got all kinds of energy, but she really wants to be close to you. So she doesn't just want to go outside. She wants you to go outside with her. And she is relentless. We're pushovers, so.
Well, I love dogs, but I just, having as many kids as I did, it was like you had to choose. You either took care of a dog or you took care of your kids.
Yeah, I get that.
And so, the kids, we had dogs, but it was like I don't like dogs inside, mostly because not for me. Some days I like dream how nice it would be, but then I remember, do you remember potty training kids? and then the other side of it is the hair.
Yeah.
If you get one that sheds, and with everything that I do, getting hair in something is like a nightmare when you're doing a finish.
Yeah.
So I just had to kind of know what I can handle and what I can't.
Yeah. I don't paint furniture at my house. I paint all my furniture at the store. So I don't have to worry about that as much. Yeah. But every now and then when I'm painting canvas, it would become a problem.
Yeah.
Although, I'll be honest, my hair is a problem as much as her hair is a problem, because I shed like a cat. It's insane. I don't know if you're like that, but I mean, it's amazing I still have hair in my head as much hair as I shed.
This gets a little tricky when you get a little too much paint in your brush.
Those are really pretty. What kind of flower is that?
I'm just putting the leaves on right now.
Oh, that's still just leaves?
Yeah, I like putting a lot of my greenery on first.
Okay, those big starburst type things you're doing right now, they sew just like pretty flowers all on their own.
See? All green.
Yep, it sure is.
Okay, this is new because I've never done just the grass and stuff like that. So, but I think I have a plan. So we'll see how it goes. I just got to remind myself, keep it in check. Uh-oh. It's like this. So my mom had, I thought I had a lot of paint because I have it everywhere. I have three cabinets full. Mm-hmm. And different paints, different kinds of acrylics, different brands. I have all of my different furniture painting lines, I have them all everywhere. But oh my gosh, my mom, I thought I had a lot of paint. And then when we were cleaning out mom's house, my sister said, you need to take all of her paint back with you because you're the one that'll use it. Oh, I have paint everywhere now. And there's a danger when you have this much paint because you run out of one and then you have to go searching through all these cabinets trying to find it. And after a while, you just give up and you're just like, I'll just go buy that paint because I'm never going to find it here.
Yep.
And then you find it and realize you have 15 of those doggone colors.
I have that feeling.
That's crazy.
I have, so I've been working on consolidating my workspace at the store. We just did some moving around and we were laughing because I was like, it's like Christmas because I'm going through and cleaning everything out and organizing. And it's like, I'm coming across stuff that I had no idea. Like I found and there were some supplies even that I thought I was low on, and I would find an entire case of something that I forgot I had. So we were just laughing. I'm like, I'm going to be making a lot of stuff in the next couple of weeks.
Right? Yeah, that's not his here. Like, not sure where that. I don't know what I'm going to do with all these colors, though. I really don't. I really need a system, and I don't have one. So they're just all tucked away in cabinets and in boxes that my husband built me.
I store my acrylics on a pegboard. That's the best way for me to know what I have. What's that?
I don't have walls for pegboards.
I
told my husband, I said, I need to, what was it I was telling him I needed to do? Right. I said something about needing a shelf on the wall. And he started laughing at me and he was like, exactly what wall are we putting the shelf on? I have like a huge open concept place.
Yeah.
And so, and any walls I have is full of art, or it has furniture in front of it, or it's used for staging, or yeah. And he was like, exactly what wall is this we're putting the shelf on? Yeah, he told me
you should get him to build you another one of those things like you took to your store this week.
He's gonna build me one for my cards.
Nice.
Yeah, so I can put my cards at the shop. Because right now they're just online, and I actually want to put them there in my booth.
Yeah.
So it takes you a little while to do one, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it takes so it's 8:26. We started about 8. So I'm just now kind of getting it wrapped good. And then I'll add I pre-felted my leaves because I was working on stuff last night and I didn't want to go cut more styrofoam, but I didn't want to be done either. So I did about 7 or 8 leaves. So I'll just attach those to the top. Because what I do is I take the smooth styrofoam ball, cut the top so that it's flat, and then just kind of put a crease in here. And that's where I'll take the needle to push it down so that it's got that, the fold, that peaches have, the seam.
Knowing how to do that would have been handy when my middle daughter was little, because that was back when Star Wars and Amidala and all of that came out.
Yeah.
And she wanted to be Amidala for Halloween. And I hated store-bought costumes because I thought they were like junk, Yeah. And so, and not only that, but we really couldn't afford it. My husband worked at a plastics plant where they made styrofoam. And so he brought home the whole headset in styrofoam, like a big ring. And so I bought yarn and wrapped it in that yarn to create her hair and her braids.
Oh, wow.
And it was so funny. We saw people out on the street, and they're dressed like Amidala, and they were like, where did she get her costume? Because I made her the skirt, to make the whole robe.
Yeah.
And everything. It was so cool. But it came in handy because my husband brought home the styrofoam, and I could just, but knowing how to do that would have saved me from having to wrap all that yarn around. I could have just done what you're doing.
Yeah.
And covered it.
This takes some time too, but yeah, I totally see what you're saying. That would have been really cool. And that would have been, the texture too would have probably been a little more what you wanted.
More hair instead of the yarn. Yeah. But it was fun. That was back in my days that I did craft, but I'm not one that loves to craft anymore. So
I will say I am a crafter at heart. I always have been. I had very crafty grandmothers and they taught me how to do a lot. My mom's mom owned a flower shop. So I learned how to arrange flowers in junior high. And then all of my grandmothers were very talented seamstresses. So
My grandmother sew. My mom could sew. I mean, she always said, I can't do anything. I'm not talented, but my mom could sew.
yeah,
She used to make our clothes when we were little.
my mom jokes about the fact that she almost failed home ec. She's like, I can't do any of that stuff.
I probably did fail home ec. I took it. I mean, I used to cook when I was young, but I hated it. I hated making things. I wanted to paint, but they kept telling me you're no good at it. So I never did. I was a writer and I was going to write a novel. And then
Yeah.
we had a lady come in that she critiqued my writing. I had already been winning contest and international place in an international contest, but she came in and critiqued it one year, my senior year, and changed up everything. And it told me why I was doing it all wrong. And I quit.
Oh,
I didn't place at all that year. And I ended up quitting. I was just like, never mind, I'm done.
I hate that. I hate to hear that. That makes me so sad. And there's so many people that are in those kinds of positions, and they abuse that kind of power, and they just don't know the damage they do.
Yeah.
And it's usually people that are probably just they're probably overly critical because they're jealous anyway. I mean, I hate to say that, but a lot of times I think that happens. And instead of being like encouraging about it, they kill people's dreams. It's so sad.
I've written, but I've never gone anywhere with them. So maybe someday. I tell my husband, someday, Roy, we watched Night and Day.
Yeah.
That's kind of been our thing now. Is someday, Roy.
Someday.
Okay, this is where I get carried away. I have to stop and do a different thing.
What about it feels carried away?
And I'm going to get it on too heavy, and I'm not going to be able to do my other flowers.
Gotcha.
Okay. It's going to be a squeaky. I've got grandkids and all coming in now.
That's fine.
So. I'll put a few poppies on this thing.
I love poppies.
Me too. I gotta wait for the middle to dry before I can put any in there. So
know that feeling. I'm really bad about that too, because I have a tendency to be like, I can keep going, even though I know better. I know I need to stop.
Well, it's like, I should like put one here, and oh no, now I have 6. Now I need to put another one in so they're not even, because it's never even numbers in
right.
So, and then I'm like, oh no, now where am I going to put the other stuff? I don't want to overdo them.
Do you get to a point sometimes where you're like, okay, I shouldn't work on this one anymore, but I'm just not done, and so you just pull out a new canvas?
Yes. Yes, I've done that.
Like when I get time to paint or to do things, I don't want to stop just because my paint's not dry, It's like, I'll just start another one. And I think that's why I have so many unfinished ones, because I start so many at one time.
That's probably what happens with me. Or I get to a point that I'm like, oh, this one's not going the way I wanted, so now I'm going to put it away.
Yeah. That was something else when we were putting things away, that I came across so many canvases that, like, I started, they've got some color on them, but that's as far as I got. All right, I'm done.
With just the one, right?
With just one, yes. Yes. Yeah, I'm like I said, I got about 3 dozen more to go. So the first one I made, my husband wanted it for his desk, and so I'd let him keep it. So now I have 2 to go towards my display at the store. I have a long week of felting ahead of me.
Yeah. At least it can be soothing.
It is. It really is. I thoroughly enjoy it.
My grandmother tried to teach me how to crochet because she was really good at that. And yeah, I wasn't so good at it.
What your thing, huh?
No, I wasn't so good at it.
I enjoy crocheting. That was actually one of the first things I started learning to do when I was making things. I was going through a crochet phase, and I had started in a little Etsy store, and I was putting stuff on there, but it was like, it wasn't really it wasn't like winter, and so, like, now I know there's more stuff that you can do, but like at the time, it was like, okay, there's not really anything for me to be making and selling right now. So I started doing jewelry, and then figured out ways to kind of incorporate the two. But I still love that. And then once I learned about this whole process with making yarns and all that kind of stuff, now I'm getting obsessed with that. So I've got a thing for textiles and fibers.
So what got you started doing?
And fibers.
So what got you started doing the designs and things? How did you learn about them? Because I'd never seen anybody doing those until I saw you do them.
You mean like the weavings?
The circles and all the textures and the yarn colors and just what you do with the yarn in them.
Yeah, like Ashton
really
Zager.
Cool.
Ashton Zager. She is a fiber artist out of Asheville, North Carolina. And I think I found a couple of people around the same time, but she was the first person I really started following that did that kind of thing. And I just really, really love her work. And then she teaches. She has an ebook, and she puts together these monthly kits that you can buy, where you get the frame and everything. And then so just kind of watching that, and then just playing with different things, and that insatiable desire to be different that makes you just start trying new things to see what happens, and making some really ugly stuff to figure out what might look good.
That's funny.
I'm a firm believer that you have to intentionally make very ugly things in order to find new pretty things.
I'm good at that. But when I had the group,
Mm-hmm.
that was the one thing that I did stress to them. You're not going to create a masterpiece with your first couple of coats. You're just not.
Never.
And it's going to get, the more you try to do, the uglier it's going to get.
Right.
Until it gets pretty. And when it finally gets pretty, then you're going to know this is why I'm doing this.
Yep. So do you have a painting membership? I didn't know that.
I did at one time. I've closed it out. I mean, it's just kind of sitting there. I've thought about starting it back up again, but I haven't jumped in because I'm not organized. I mean, when I started it, it was because I had so many people tell me I could never do what you do because I tried it and it always looks so ugly. And I was like, my answer was always, you probably stopped 2 steps too soon.
Yeah.
If you had done 2 more things, it would have been amazing. And I got where I was hearing that so often that I was like, okay, I need them to actually see what it's really like to create something. Right. And to paint a piece of furniture and come out with my finishes. Because sometimes you start and you have a plan and then it goes haywire. And you're like, what am I doing? This is horrible. And it's sometimes you start out and you have no plan and you're just grabbing whatever color you feel like in the moment until you find something that inspires you. But in that whole process, it gets really ugly. Right. And nobody wants to show the ugly part. They want to show where they started. They want to show where one layer was coming on and it was looking pretty. And then you skip. And then they show you where it was like, oh, look, they're adding these little touches that make it amazing. But they don't show you how ugly it was.
Yes.
Through that 3rd, 4th, and 5th step. And so I was just like, I want them to see it's real. So that's what I did for a long time. Probably about a year or more, just showing how ugly it was in the middle and getting them comfortable with just getting through that ugly part.
So were you teaching primarily furniture finishes?
Yeah, just furniture finishes. I took cabinet doors and created like little trays and things like that, showing them techniques that they could use on furniture and small stuff. So yeah, it was mostly furniture.
That's cool. I bet it was great. I have I've had that before where I've had people walk in the store if I'm doing like a live video or painting a piece or whatever, and they look at it and I can tell their eyes are just kind of like bugged out of their head because it's sort of like, that's so ugly. Right? Like, I promise it gets better.
They're like, she'll never sell that.
Oh my God. Well, before I get too far gone, because it's about 8:45, and I want to say that I read somewhere that you should keep these things to about 45 minutes. So this has been fun, though. I love the way yours is turning out.
I think it'll be a good Memorial Day one because it's got the red and the whites and the blues. These are going to be poppies. So I'm going to go in after it dries and I'm going to put my big black centers with some little white, tiny, tiny dots on them. And then I'll probably bring in just a little bit of a deep turquoise to touch up a few of the petals, to highlight them a little. So, and that'll be done. I'll add a few jagged leaves that poppies have. So, and like these, I'll show you real quick before we get off. So these, you'll come in from, can you see it? I don't know if you can see it, but just come in from the top with your little, and then just bring, because they always kind of curl in.
Oh.
So you'll have, they'll all be arched from the bottom.
Okay. I didn't realize that, but I guess that makes sense now that I'm seeing it on yours. I have seen.
They remind me of ferns sometimes. You know how ferns just they start unfurling and then they stand up. That's what poppies do. You always see them where they're upright, but if you look at their buds, they're all curled down, and then as they start to open, they just kind of curl up to the sun. So it's really, really cool. So all of these will have just that little bit of green and brown, and then curl up before they kind of come in.
I love that. It's really pretty.
Keeps it wispy too. So,
Mhm.
yep. And then I'll go in and finish my vase. Do something on the bottom.
Yeah.
I may put I don't know. I thought about putting a book or two right there, but I may just leave it with these.
Super pretty. I like it.
Thank you.
Can't wait to see it all finished.
Well, thanks for having me on here. I know you got to get off of here now.
Thanks for hanging out with me tonight.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks guys for hanging out with us, and we will catch you next week at Tuesday night. So see you guys then. Bye.